Season 3 of Modern Warfare 3 is here, and there were many buffs and nerfs, so I got y'all the new top 5 setups to be using right now. Ladies and gents, first weapon is going to be an honorable mention, the MCW. I wasn't going to add it to the list, but I already know so many of you guys are going to be asking about it. So this thing received a decent nerf. They removed the headshot multiplier, or I guess lowered it to where you don't really need a headshot up close if you want that 4-shot kill. Long range, it didn't really matter. It's just up close. If you hit the headshot, it's not going to really change anything. That being said, the class is going to stay basically the same. For the barrels, I know there's a lot of good barrels, but you want to run the cyclone barrel so you get more bolt velocity. That's one big downside of this weapon, is that the bolt velocity really isn't that good, leading to this weapon just feeling very inconsistent. Feels like you're playing on a high ping, and so you'll maximize that if you run the cyclone. For the next attachment, I do got the Comsave Flash Hider. This is like my favorite muzzle in the game. If you're making your own build and you're trying to figure out what to use, just run the Comsave Flash Hider. Always works very well. Although if you want to be completely off the radar, then I would run the Sonic Suppressor, or I would add the Shadow Strike Suppressor. It's all personal preference. Use the one that you like. For the underbarrel, this class really doesn't have any recoil whatsoever, so I'm going to be running the DR6 hand stop just to maximize that mobility, and that stock that we are going to be adding is bringing down the mobility, so we're kind of just adding this to compensate those values. So now we have a very balanced build. And then for the stock, that one that we are going to be adding is the Precision Heavy. It's just going to add aim and auto stability and fire and aiming stability, which doesn't look like that much, but the aim and auto stability is going to help you get that first shot, making it easier to land the rest of these shots. And then we also get a lot of fire and aiming stability, which is one of the biggest things to like help you control the recoil on the weapon. Even though it doesn't really say anything, it really does help a lot. Like, this attachment is completely game changer for the MCW. If you don't really want to lose mobility, you could take off the Precision Heavy, go over to the rear grip, and then add the RB Claw. With this variant I'm using, I don't have the option for that. You know, I spent money on the game to not use the build I wanted to use. I still really like the Precision. I still would use that over on pubs. You could even take the stock off and then go over and add a magazine. You can add high grain rounds if you want to maximize the bullet velocity. And just right here is a good like starting area where you guys can take things off and build it to your liking. By the way, if you want everything in Modern Warfare 3 legitimately, then I would check out WSP. They will plan your account to unlock anything you desire, and that goes for Warzone, multiplayer, zombies, and many other games. I have also never seen a single negative review. I'll have their link down in the description. For the next weapon on the list, this is going to be the Ram 7. It did get a decent nerf in the most recent update, but it still is going to be a very dominant weapon. And with this build, you're going to get accusations so much because there's literally like no recoil on the gun. It is absolutely insane. One way that we got to no recoil is by adding the Compensated Flash Hider. Again, one of the best muzzles in the game. It just keeps you off the radar, or it doesn't show you up on the radar as long. And then we also get that recoil control with basically having no cons at all. Like, I'm surprised they didn't nerf this muzzle. You could also add the Cassis Brake. This one gives you a lot of horizontal recoil control. There's just going to be a lot of vertical, but then there's like no side-to-side bounce. It's actually very satisfying. And then for the underbarrel, they did just nerf the Bruin Heavy support grip. It's not going to give you as much horizontal recoil control. Instead of it giving you about 12% on here, it's now going to be giving you 8% horizontal recoil control, which I haven't downloaded the update yet. I just got all the patch notes offline, so I already know what changed. And so overall, though, the Bruin Heavy is still going to be the best for the Ram, since, you know, this gun does bounce around side to side a lot. Next up, we are going to be adding the Retort 90 grip tape just for more recoil control. We are losing aim and auto stability, but those pros heavily outweigh those cons. And if you were to make any changes to this build, I would take off the rear grip or the magazine, and then you can add, like, maybe if you want to increase the damage range, then you could add the Cronin Headwind long barrel. And then if you want more, you know, maybe you want high grain rounds or something else, I would take off that rear grip for that. Next up, for the stock, this is kind of a must. You want to run the 3.4 pad. This is just going to give you gun kick control and recoil control, which gun kick control is kind of like fire and aim and stability. Those two things are going to impact the weapon the most. Same with the recoil control, but if we take a look, we get so much recoil gun kick, which is why this thing literally has no recoil. And look at those cons. Barely any cons whatsoever. And so you guys are definitely going to very much enjoy this build. Very balanced, very OP, to where you're never really going to die. So we got the 40 round mag on there just so we don't have to worry about reloading. Although sometimes I do take that off and add the 60, just kind of depends on the map that I'm playing. And then for the secondary on this class, I am running the Renetti with the aftermarket part. I got a lot of comments of people asking, like, what's the best setup for the Renetti with the conversion kits? In my opinion, this is going to be the best one. I still tweak it every now and then, but I've been really liking this one. The only thing I don't like is that it's a little bit slower. And then for the vest, we do got the Assassin's Vest. It's just going to keep you off the radar, allowing you to go on those streaks a little bit longer. if you are being annoyed about being on the radar with that muzzle, oh yeah, add the Shadow Strike suppressor or the Sonic suppressor. Those two are going to be the best. And then for the tactical on here, I got the Stim, Semitex. Overall, those are the ones I always run. I just think Semitex is the best. Nothing really outperforms that. And then the Stim, you replenish this every 25 seconds, making it very helpful when you're going on those streaks. We got Scavenger Gloves because when you run the Assassins, you don't get a field upgrade. I always run out of ammo, so I just need some extra ammo. And then a Marksman Gloves actually just got a buff, or they fixed it. It wasn't really reducing the sway beforehand. Now it's actually reducing the sway, making it very helpful. Assault Gloves are actually going to improve your handling even more. So I would definitely try out these if you haven't really used them too much, since they're a lot better now. For the boots, I got the Covert Sneaker so the enemies don't hear my footsteps. I don't really like getting sound horde. And then for the gear, I got EOD so I don't have to worry about nades. Which that's going to wrap it up for the Ram 7. Now let's go over the HRM-9. This thing received a slight nerf, but it's really not that much. Just a little bit to your sprint to fire speed. So again, this class is going to be pretty similar to some that I've already showed you, or maybe one that you already have. For the muzzle, again, we got the compensated flash hider. For the underbarrel, we got the DR6 hand stop just to increase some of that mobility that we are losing. Before, sometimes I would use like a different underbarrel, but now the sprint to fire speed on this thing is a little bit slower, to where I really do recommend always running the hand stop. When we take a look at those stats, you guys can see it really does help the weapon a ton with only losing a little bit of our accuracy. And so now we have like no recoil, we got a lot of mobility, but this thing is still very bouncy. So that's why I got the folding stock. You will kind of see me running this on every single HRM build, because look at these pros and how they heavily outweigh those cons. It is absolutely insane how much easier this weapon is to use when you add the folding stock. And then we also get that firing aiming stability, so we get more recoil control than it looks like. It is insanely OP. And then for the rear grip, we do got the PCS 90 assault grip for the gun kick control and the recoil control. I don't know why it's listed twice on there. Yes, we are losing ADS speed and aiming idle stability, but the aiming idle stability doesn't really impact you too much up close. It will make it a little bit iffy to get first shot at times, but those pros, again, heavily outweigh those cons. Yes, we're losing a lot of our ADS speed, but it's really not too much to where we can go in here. And we have a big-ass magazine, and the ADS speed still very good. And just so you guys know, all these builds work very good in Rebirth Island 2, besides the MCW one. And yeah, so you guys should be able to pop off with these. And then if you guys do want to make any changes, honestly, I would maybe take off the rear grip or the underbarrel, and then you could add maybe an optic. You can add a barrel if you want. The barrel I would recommend is going to be the Thorn. This one is going to maximize, not the Thorn, sorry, the Princeps long barrel. The reason I'm not running it is just because I feel a little bit clunky and weird with it. I don't know why, I just feel clunky. And then when you have, but it does increase damage range by so much, so you guys might really like it if you run that barrel. Overall though, this is my favorite build for the HRM-9. And then for the secondary, I do got the Core 45 with the conversion kit. This thing is insane. I think it has like a bilinear trigger. I don't know how to say that, but whenever you pull the trigger, it fires, and whenever you release the trigger, it's going to fire. So if you spam it very quick, you can get a very, very fast time to kill. Keep in mind, this gun is banned in rank play because it's so good. You guys should be able to pop off with the Core 45 build. And then I got the Demolition Vest because this build is super fun, or this class is very fun to be very aggressive with. Demolition Vest is going to allow you to like have extra nades. You can replenish those nades. You're going to be able to replenish your stims. You still have your trophy system, so you can be on the small maps, throw down the trophy. Don't really need to worry about people throwing things at you. You're throwing things at them, and you're going to be throwing those very quick because you got the Ordnance Gloves. These allow you to throw things very, very quick and farther. And then we got the Running Sneakers because I really like to be able to attack sprint for a long time. When you add the Demolition, you're not running the Infantry Vest, so you do feel a little bit slower unless you run the Running Sneakers. Sometimes I will run the Covert Sneakers over that though. And then EOD in case there is a nade that gets by or something. Like, I've died by so many nades. I have so many streaks to where I run EOD 24/7. It is a must for me. You could run Ghost though if you want. Next up, we got the WSP Swarm. I believe this thing got a slight nerf, but really not too much to where the weapon's not going to be like meta anymore. This thing has no recoil. You can use it up to medium range. You guys are going to love it. Again, we got the compensated flash hider. I really hope they nerf this thing or add another attachment because like it's so hard to not run this muzzle. It is so astronomically good because so much recoil control and we don't really lose any mobility. Also, L4R flash hider isn't going to be as big of a benefit anymore. It gives you about 10% recoil control instead of 13%. Just so you guys know if you do run the L4R. For the barrel, we do got the Reckless 90 long barrel. But this is going to be the best barrel in the game for this gun. Yes, there are some other barrels that are very good. But if you're looking for the most consistent overall best class, you're going to want to run the Reckless 90 just to maximize that damage range, allowing you to get an insane time to kill up close. And we also get some recoil control in case you want to use it at range. Yes, I know we're losing a lot of our mobility, but again, pros heavily outweigh those cons, and we are going to be mitigating those cons with the DR6 hand stop. You guys can kind of see a trend with all the classes. If the gun's good, like statistically good, you only need to add a little bit of recoil control, add more ammo and more mobility, and you're good. So that's why a lot of these setups are very basic, because the guns are already super good. That's why we got the Fortress Heavy. This is just going to be adding so much recoil control. You guys can see gun kick control, recoil control. We get fire aim and stability. Insanely OP. Yes, a lot of cons, but if we take a look at the detailed stats, you guys can see those cons really aren't there. We're only losing a little bit of our handling and a little bit of the mobility, but then those pros, oh my days, that is absolutely insanely OP. And we get more attack stance spread, but like fuck the attack stance, that doesn't really matter too much. And then we do got the 40 round mag. Reason I'm not running the 50 is because the pros don't really outweigh the cons. Like there's so many cons when you add the 50 compared to the 40. Again, personal preference, use whatever you want. 100 is very fun though. Like if I'm gonna, run the 50, I usually just run a 100, and that's gonna be crazy on those new small maps. And if you guys were to make any changes on the build, honestly, I would take off, maybe you could take off the DR6 hand stop, go over to the rear grip and add the Marauder grip. This thing is crazy. Could even take off the magazine, then add the DR6 hand stop, and you'll have a insane amount of mobility. You guys can see, yes, there's still a little bit of recoil, but as long as you're in the enemy's face, you should be fine. That's how you kind of want to use this weapon. You want to be very aggressive with it. So this is my favorite build for the WSP Swarm. Then next up, I do got the Akimbo Renetti. This thing is absolutely crazy. A lot of people get pissed off when I use this thing. We do have lasers on here, so if you don't like lasers, I'll show you a variation. You can basically take off the laser, obviously, and then you can go over to the trigger action, and then you can add the Bruin MG, increasing the fire rate, but it doesn't do that much. And so that's why I'm running the laser, just so I get more one burst kills up close. And you're going to be off the radar, and you got mobility. This thing is crazy. You could increase damage range. I see a lot of people doing that, but the reason you don't really want to do that is because you don't want to lower the sprint to fire speed. Typically, when you increase the range with the barrel, it's going to lower sprint to fire speed, and with the secondary, you want a very fast sprint to fire speed, which is why we also got the infantry vest on here, so we can tack sprint a little bit longer. We can play very, very aggressive, making it easier to get into the enemy's face. Again, Stim and 7-tex munitions box, so we don't have to worry about ammo. Assault gloves, these are going to be making the weapon feel even lighter now, so I'm very excited to try these out. Covert sneakers so the enemies don't hear us, and then EOD again, so I don't have to worry about those fucking nades. I hate those. And this is going to be the next class, the SVA 545. If you guys haven't already, if you could leave a like on the video if you are finding this helpful, you should definitely subscribe with the notice on so you get notified whenever I bring you the best class setups. And also stop by one of my live streams if you want to see me play in the top 1% lobbies in ranked play. Going to be grinding a lot of rebirth though. So this is going to be the SVA 545. I got two different builds for you guys. If you add the compensator flash hider, it will make this thing have even less recoil, but this thing is very, very enjoyable to use at like medium range, long range, and when the enemies don't know where you're at, it's super easy to streak up with it. So I do got the Shadow Strike Suppressor. I was going to add maybe the Spirit Fire, but it was just way too slow of a gun, and my face is so itchy. I don't know why. And then for the barrel, we do got the Precision Barrel. This is just going to be maximizing that damage range, adding aim and auto stability, making it easier to hit that first shot. And when you hit the first shot, it's easier to land the rest of the shots, making it easier to win the gunfight. We also get gun kick control and recoil control. Overall, this is a great attachment for the gun. I run this on like every single SVA build because those pros outweigh those cons and just really bring up the value of the weapon. Now we're going to be off the radar, and we got a lot of range, but the iron sights are absolutely horrible in my opinion, so I'm going to be running the MK3 reflector. Obviously, you can run whatever you want. You could even take off the optic, add a 40 round mag. You can add the DR6 hand stuff. You can increase damage range with the high grain rounds. A lot of things that you can do. And then since there is a little bit of like a bouncy recoil, and this stock right here, the main V6 stock, doesn't seem crazy. You know, we get some recoil control, gun kick control to lose mobility, but whoa, if we look at the stats, we get so much recoil control. Like, oh my days. A lot of the stocks in this game really make the weapon super easy to use, and so that's why I always have a stock on like every single class. Those pros destroy those cons. Like, it is hard to not run this gun without this stock on there. My face is, oh my god. And then for the last attachment, just to add a little bit more recoil control, again, if you do want to change anything, I would take off the rear grip. Could take off the muzzle, I guess. The main part of the build is just having the stock, the barrel, and then the optic. You could add more ammo. You can add, more mobility with the DR6 hand stop. But I was really liking how accurate the gun is when I have the demo 650 grip. We got firing, aiming stability, gun kick control, the two most important things for the gun, and then overall recoil control. And so now this gun is going to be an absolute beamer. Again, if you want more recoil control, you can go over here and then you can add the compensated flash hider. That's going to make the weapon an absolute laser beam. People are going to think you got a Cronus. You're just going to be on the radar a little bit. So that's why I like the other one. But look at that. It's so easy to use. For the secondary, I got a piece of shit WSP Stinger. I would even use this, so I'd skip this part of the video. But if you want to have some fun, I would definitely take a screenshot of that Stinger. It is fun. It's just horrible. Oh my god. And then I do got the Assassin's Vest again, just so I'm off the radar. With that suppressor, it's keeping me off the radar. And then if the enemy gets a UAV, I'm going to be off the radar. And then I got scavenger gloves so I can pick up the ammo, allowing me to go on those nuke streets. Covert sneakers so the enemies don't hear me. They can't see me on the radar. They don't hear me. The only time they can kill me is if they see me. But, I got pretty good awareness, so they'll never see me. And then EOD so I don't have to worry about the nades. That's going to wrap it up for the SV8. Now for the last weapon, this is going to be the HRM-9. Again, it got a slight nerf to its sprint to fire speed, but still is a very, very good weapon with a lot of recoil control. You guys are definitely going to love this thing. So for the muzzle, I do got the Zen compensated flash hider. Again, I know you guys are not surprised whatsoever. If you have the purifier, you will make the gun easy to use, but you are going to have a little bit less range. So that's why I'm not going to be adding the purifier muzzle brake. And then this gun already doesn't really have that much damage range, so that's especially why I'm going to be adding the high grain rounds. I could run a barrel to get more damage range, but we do lose more recoil control, so I don't really recommend it. But it still could be very good, and I would definitely mess with the Imperator. Light barrel adds a lot of recoil control. Doesn't hurt the... you guys already know what I'm trying to say. I'm going crazy. With the underbarrel, increased mobility, allowing you to have a faster sprint to fire speed since the sprint to fire speed just got nerfed. You want to run the DR6 hand stop. Also gives you that strafe speed, making it easier to activate that rotational aim assist. And then you can overall move around the map a little bit quicker. High grain rounds to increase that damage range. 40 round mag to increase the amount of ammo. This kind of goes with the WSP Stinger Swarm thing. How I didn't really want to add the 50 because the pros don't really outweigh the cons necessarily. Like, it's not really worth it to lose that much stats on your weapon just for a little bit extra ammo. And then lastly, for the rear grip, we do got the Retort 90 grip tape just to maximize that recoil control. This gun does shake around side to side a decent amount, so that's why we're just going to be adding recoil control. And you guys can see the thing is already a beam and we got a lot of mobility. So this build is going to be very balanced. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Again, if you want to change anything, take off the ammunition or the underbarrel, then you can add something else of your liking. The combs, the one that gives you sprint to fire speed is honestly very, very good since the sprint to fire speed on this gun really isn't that good. So I almost ran the recon comb. If you're dying up close, try out the recon. You'll probably do a lot better. But most of you guys should like this HRM-9 build. For the secondary, we are going to be running the normal Renetti. This is going to be my favorite Renetti in the game. For the muzzle, though, sometimes I do run the Sky Fury instead. But the compensated flash hider is pretty fun. And then if you guys do want a screenshot, there you guys go. We got the ammo. Having a sight on this thing makes the gun so much easier to use. And then we got the infantry vest. It's just the best vest in the game, definitely. So you can move around the map a little bit quicker. And then stun. Oh, okay. Usually stim. Again, stuff doesn't really matter on here. Marksman gloves with the SMGs are actually very helpful because you're always going to be up close. So if the enemy hits a shot on you, you're going to have a lot of flinch. When you run the marksman, it's going to make it so you don't really get that flinch, or you don't get as much flinch, and the sights aren't going to sway as much. So marksman is honestly very OP for the SMGs, but same with the assault and things like that since they all got buffed. And then covert singers so they don't hear you. And that's going to wrap it up for everything on this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Good luck on the new season and deuces.